Okay, sixth graders, what we're going to be talking about in the new project is basically theme. Theme is the big idea in an artwork. Now, that can be a song, it could be a movie, it could be a painting, a drawing, any type of art usually has some theme. What is it about? Okay, so there's lots of big themes or big ideas. One could be friendship. One could be love and or hate or perseverance. Pushing through when you have problems. Or it could be a story of hardship. It could just be a story of survival. Or it could be about beauty. But there's a lot of big ideas or themes that we see in art. Now, a lot of things that artists do tend to be variations on a theme. So an artist will pick a theme that they find important to them. Okay, so for example, a big theme, topic, or idea could be nature. Now that's probably too big. So maybe what an artist might do is focus on something a little smaller like landscape. Or maybe even more specific, like a tree or different types of trees. Now, what you're going to do, and what a lot of artists do, is variations on a theme, which means they do different artworks based on the same big idea. Kind of play around with that idea. Maybe it's different angles, different colors, different mediums, different times of day, different ages. And they play around with the same basic idea. So what you're going to do is you're going to use this form that I've attached. Okay, it's a graphic organizer. And basically it's just for brainstorming. So up here, it's possible theme ideas. So for one, we just talked about nature, and then I went with landscape. So a little bit more specific. Okay, what are some other ideas? Well, I really like dogs, so maybe breeds of dog or dog breeds. Just dogs maybe is too big. I like cartoon dogs. I like drawing dogs, but maybe I'm always drawing realistic ones, so maybe cartoon dogs would be fun. How about holidays or U.S. holidays? Be a little bit more specific. You got Christmas, 4th of July, that type of thing. Seasons. Winter, summer, fall. I also like football, so maybe like football team logos. Okay, so these are examples of theme ideas that would work. Now, what I'm going to do is, as I work my way down, I'm going to go, which one of these do I think I can draw and have fun with? And I immediately gravitated towards cartoon dogs. So I'm going to go cartoon dogs. Down here is where I start to plug in some variations on a theme. So what are some variations on that theme? As you can see peeking in the screen over here, how about Odie from Garfield? How about Santa's Little Helper from The Simpsons? This is just for you, okay, to kind of organize your ideas. Over here, how about Astro from the Jetsons. Maybe you haven't seen that one. That was on when I was a kid. The Jetsons. All right, over here, I got Scooby-Doo. But also, I came up with another one. I'm thinking Pluto. Goofy is also actually a dog, but Pluto looks more like a dog. So you can come up with more if you want, okay? You might even get to a place where you only have to have 4, but you might get to a place where you find 4 good pictures and one of them doesn't really work, or 5 pictures and only 4 of them work, because you have to have 4, basically, all right? Now, I don't want you to do cartoon dogs. This is my example. I want you to do this on your own and come up with your own ideas. So the next step is to research on the internet some pictures of your references for your specific variations on. Okay, so you're going to go to Google, type in your variation, okay, whether that's the name of a cartoon character or the name of a holiday or a season or whatever you're coming up with. Okay, I'm looking for Santa's Little Helper from The Simpsons. And I'm trying to find a picture that I think would be good and maybe also be similar to other styles. So maybe we'll go full body Santa's Little Helper, because then we could go full body with the other variations as well. That one's pretty good. And what we're going to do is we're going to view this image, and then we're going to click on copy image, and then we're going to go to Microsoft Word, bring that up, blank document, and we're going to right click and then paste with the brush, click and drag to make this thing a little bit bigger. Your artworks are going to be about 4 by 6, so you kind of want your picture to be somewhere around there. It's like a, like a big playing card, or like a 3 by 5, a little bit bigger than a 3 by 5 card if you're looking for reference. All right. So then I am going to look for the next variation. So we talk about Pluto. All right. Full body. If you did like a landscape and you did a mountainscape for the first one, the second one you want to see, if you want to see the whole mountains in the first one, then you want to see a whole beach in the second one. So for mine, I'm looking at the whole body of the dog. So the second one, same direction, whole body of the dog, so that it kind of fits together. Same kind of variation. Okay. And then all you do is click print. Okay, now we got some of these printed out here. There's Odie. I got Scooby and Astro. I got Pluto and Santa's Little Helper. I don't need all 5. I just need 4. Okay? Now, I'll tell you why I have 5. What happened was, when I started to draw these out, Scooby didn't work out so well. He was like, he didn't fit. Because basically, what you're going to do is a playing style card size artwork, I should say. It's going to be about 4 inches by 6 inches, like a big, they have like a 3 by 5 card. They have another size. It's like 4 by 6. That is like the perfect style. Maybe a little bit bigger than a playing card. Okay, now I have this paper for you. If you're at home, you can even use a file card. You could use like any small piece of white paper that's thick enough to take artwork. You don't want something with lines on it though. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 different ones. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I draw this out. So my variations are going to be cartoon dogs. The one I'm going to work on right now is Astro. Now, when I go to draw this out, I'm going to hold it probably all the same way. So if my other dogs are all going horizontal, that's left to right, so will this one. Then what I'm going to do is start real light and sketchy, trying to get basic shapes. Big mistake people make is they go line, line, and they screw it up. It's too big, it's too small, they got to start over. What I like to do is lay out the drawing, how it fits best on my paper. You might have to push it or stretch it just a little. Okay, real light and sketchy. using the picture as reference. Now the next thing I'm going to do is darken this up, kind of fix the drawing. It may not be perfectly identical, but it's going to be pretty close. I'm going to take my time and do the best drawing I can. Now, I don't need the boy. What was his name? Leroy? Elroy? Something like that. I don't need him in there because he's not part of my theme. Whatever you're doing should fit the theme. I can't draw a picture of a landscape right now because that doesn't fit with cartoon dogs. So you can see, started very light, big shapes and proportions first. Now we're getting a little bit more detail. I think the color could go down just a little bit. You can always erase that and fix that. One of the reasons I'm in pencil first. So if I make a mistake, I can always fix it. You also notice I'm not coloring anything in with my pencil because we have to color these projects. And if you color everything with a pencil, then it just all becomes mud when you get to the next step. That we don't want. Okay, now earlier today, when drawing out these other ones and planning out this lesson, I kind of sketched them all out. I did 4. And like I said, Scooby didn't work out. He was kind of like too tall. He didn't really fit the format, so he got X'd off. It's one of the reasons that I ended up with Odie. But you don't need 5. You only need 4. And they are small little artworks, but they're all variations on your theme. They all have to fit the theme. Now, that could be, again, like I said, holidays. One could be based on Christmas. One could be based on 4th of July, etc., etc. Now, what you do want to do is also have a background. Even if that ends up being a flat color, what I was sort of thinking is just keeping it simple and going like sky ground, or even like wall carpet. You know what I mean? Just very basic background. Maybe just go 2 colors and keep it simple. If you're going landscape, that background might be a mountain with a sky. But you do have to kind of fill the paper. But you might want to keep it simple just because they're so small. Now, because they're variations on a theme, you're going to do the exact same thing when it comes to the color. So you're going to try to do 4 different mediums. That's what I'm looking for. For example, we'll start with Odie, and we're going to start, since he's probably the simplest character, we're going to start with marker. Marker is probably one of the simplest tools. It's really good for just kind of filling things in. You'll notice I'm kind of going to do a little bit of erasing here. Just lightening it up a little bit, getting rid of any of those sketchy lines I talked about earlier. And now we fill with marker. Try not to get too much pencil in there. You can see it makes it a little bit muddy if you get too much pencil. It's one of the reasons I kind of want to stay light. Okay, you can see that I am working with the lighter colors first, then I'll go to the darker colors. Reddish brown. Then the next step is I'm going to start to do my outlining. But actually, I should hold off on the outlining because before I do outlining, I should do a background, shouldn't I? Absolutely. So let's take 2 kind of different colors. I'm going to put Odie indoors, and we'll do like a blue rug. And then we'll do like a pinky purple wall. You want to color in a single direction at a time. You don't want to scribble. I always like to kind of outline or define the space and then fill with the marker. You get the idea. Next, what I want to do after that is anything that's black. The dark colors come at the end. And the darkest color would be your black. So we'll crisp up these lines. Especially with cartoons, you're going to be doing outlining. You do not have to do cartoons, however. I told you one of the other options, or the other examples, I should say, was landscape. So I could do a beachscape, I could do a rainforest. It's just based on whatever your theme is. You do not have to copy me. This is just my example. So that's marker, okay? What else could you do? you could do colored pencils. Okay, that's another variation on the theme, is a different medium. It's kind of fun to do sort of like a media exploration where you're playing around with different colors. So I'm going to do a reddish brown, and you'll notice that actually Santa's Little Helper's got a little bit of a lighter kind of orangey look inside on the highlights. So what we'll do is we'll go reddish brown, and then for those highlights we'll take kind of a orangier color and try to match that up. And again, you'll notice that I'm not doing the black first. You can also get really creative with this where you have them connect. Like if I drew that so that the kind of floor and the ceiling connected, that would be kind of cool. They would all kind of look like they're in the same room, or maybe just kind of switch the colors like a pattern. You can play around with the background so that they all go together. You do not have to, have each one be its own standalone artwork, because they're all part of the same artwork. They're all going to be graded together. You have to have four variations on the theme.
Okay. Now, the nice part about this is I have white for things like the eyeballs. White colored pencil works really well. A little bit more red in the side of the tongue there. You'll notice I'm not crossing over and using marker in this one, because this is the colored pencil one. Alright, now the next step, again, same basic situation and how you want to work and the order you want to work. Get those colors in there. Okay, let's do something similar. Let's go with sort of a purpley background. And we will go with sort of a lighter blue kind of thing for the ground. Now they all kind of fit together. Now each one is different. That's the whole idea behind variations on a theme. No two are identical, but they're similar, very, very similar. Again, lastly, the last step, black. Unfortunately, I don't really like that black. I like this one. Let's try this brand better. Prismacolor, definitely better blacks and whites for sure. If I didn't crack it. I really like to use a lot of pressure with these. They look kind of thick and creamy. That's probably too much pressure, but you get the idea. So there he is. He's coming along.
We got marker. We got colored pencil. All right, what's next? All right, so another thing could be pastels. I have oil pastels in class, and I have chalk pastels. Maybe you have some pastels at home. Here for Astro, what I'm going to do is pastel pencils. These are one of my favorites. I have a lot of these. So we will use pastel pencils.
Now with pastel, you always want to do kind of a controlled scribble. Believe it or not. It's not sloppy scribbling. It's kind of like under control and it stays in the area, but you're kind of working the pastel into the paper. It's less like just coloring, and it's more, kind of getting some on there, and then you're going to work it in. Now, there's different ways to work it in. I have blenders in class. You could use a Q-tip at home. You could even use your finger to blend pastels. Okay. I would switch sides if I'm switching color. And work that into the paper. Now, again, like everything else, you want to make sure that you're doing all the lighter colors first. Anything that's outlined or black would come towards the end.
You get the idea. Okay, so that's pastel. All right. And then here we have Pluto. Now again, there are options. I would say use the things that you have. So some people might have watercolors. And if your paper is thick enough, you could get some watercolors, get a little bit of water, circle, start to paint that in. If your paper is not thick enough, you're probably not going to want to use watercolors because it'll go right through the paper. You really got to have good paper for that. But I do have watercolors in class. You might have some at home that you can use as well. All right. If you're really stumped and you don't have anything else, like you don't have any oil pastel or chalk pastel, you only have markers, colored pencils, or that's all you got from me, one thing you can do is shading. And that is you just take a pencil and you sort of turn everything black and white. And in this instance, what you want to do is you want to work a little darker than you did before. And you can actually work in what's called value. And that means if something is like a medium tone,
you would shade it. If something is a really dark tone, like black, you would fill it all in. This is a type of pencil drawing where you're actually doing shading. I'll show you an example here a little bit more on the tongue, because the tongue is not like super bright. So we give it a little bit of shadow on one side, and then we fade the shadow out to make that look a little bit more three-dimensional. And then we do the same thing on the form, to make that look like it's more three-dimensional. And it's a little bit of a struggle on this one because it's a flat character, so I have to create the shadow. Now, if you were drawing something more realistic, like a real dog as your theme, well then, of course, it would be a little bit easier. But pencil drawing isn't like a stick figure. I'm talking like pencil drawing where you're shading. So there's some thick lines and some thin lines. There's some light value, like right here in the nose. Then there's some dark value, like inside the mouth and around the tongue. Trying to make it look three-dimensional with a pencil. Or you could use tempera paint or watercolors. But the idea is that with the variations, you also vary the medium, which means you cannot do all of them in colored pencil. You can't do all of them in marker. You have
to vary them. You have to use different styles, different techniques, different mediums. Okay? Then you get a feel for the shading. So these are not done, obviously, but you can see my variations on a theme. Out of the way here. We got chalk pastel pencil. We got marker. We got colored pencil. We got regular pencil. And that's pretty much all she wrote. Obviously, you have to complete all 4 of those for a grade. Good luck on your variations on a theme.